I was about 3 weeks out from that first show and I get a phone call. Disappointed, frustrated a little bit. Here's what it is and what can I do? So I wanted to change up my shoulder workout for the day. I did 100 rep set. So I did it for lateral raises, back flies, upright rows. You see I have a visitor here. This is Lucy Lou. Lateral raises, back flies, front raises, and upright rows. So 100 rep set. So what you do is you pick a really light weight and you do as many reps as you can do. So let's say I did 40 reps. And then I have 60 reps left to do. You rest for 60 seconds. So you rest however many seconds equal to the number of reps you have left. I would do 40 reps, rest for 60 seconds. Then maybe I'm able to knock out another 20 reps for a total of 60. So then I rest for 40 seconds, so on and so on until you get to 100. So I did that for each of the 4 exercises. That's what we did for shoulders today. All right, guys, so we are in the bedroom again because the Hubs is watching, I think it's now Thursday night football. I mean, football's pretty much on all the time, except for maybe, Tuesdays and Wednesdays? I don't know. There's probably something on Tuesdays and Wednesdays that you could watch that's football related. But anyway, so back again, setting up in the bedroom for the next episode. Let's see, last time I was telling you about the start to my season and the sort of plot twist that happened. So just to kind of recap, I had planned on doing a show at the beginning of August, and that was going to be my first show of the season. It was going to be, I guess what you would call kind of a tune-up show or a warm-up show. And that's not to say that it was like a lesser show or that it wasn't an important show. It was just going to be my first show of the season. And usually you just kind of want to knock the rust off, just kind of get back into the swing of things. And maybe your physique isn't like exactly where you want it, but sometimes you just do a show just to get some judges' feedback, see how you're looking, and then apply it to the next show. So I had another show planned for the end of August. Now, the show at the end of August was going to be an ANBF show. So ANBF is the American Natural Bodybuilding Federation. I had never competed in ANBF before, and they were doing a 2-day show in Tampa. So it was going to be a Pro-Am show, which it was really cool. So the amateurs competed on Saturday, and then if you win your pro card, you can actually compete in the pro show, your very first pro show on Sunday. So I was like super excited to possibly get a chance to win my pro card and compete as a pro on Sunday. So that's why I wanted to do this sort of warm up, this sort of tune up show at the beginning of August, just to kind of get ready going into the ANBF show in Tampa. So the one at the beginning of August was actually an INBF show, and I was hoping to, hopefully qualify for Worlds and then kind of decide after Tampa what I wanted to do next. So like if I hadn't qualified for Worlds at that first August show, then I would have planned on doing like another show in like just September to try to qualify for Worlds. So I was going to get those first two, the INBF show and the ANBF show, was going to get those out of the way and then kind of plan the rest of my season, what I was going to do. I was about 3 weeks out from that first show and I was doing pretty good. I was leaning out, looking good, and making kind of my final preparations. And I get a phone call saying that the show had been canceled. Now, let me say that I have to say I was not too disappointed because I had a feeling that it was going to get canceled. And the reason why I felt that is because this same promoter had a show earlier in the spring. I can't remember when it was exactly, but it was earlier in the spring, and that show got canceled. And so when I was registering for the August show, I messaged him and I said, hey, I just want to make sure the show is still on, like it's not canceled or anything. And he's like, yep, it's good. And then I registered for the show and I noticed like my payment didn't post. Like usually I get some sort of like payment confirmation, or like the promoter will send you an email that says, hey, you've registered for the show. We'll send out more info later. And I didn't get any kind of confirmation. And so I messaged him again and I was like, hey, I just want to make sure that, everything's good. And he's like, yeah, you're good. So I thought everything was set. And then I get this phone call that the show's been canceled. Not postponed, just flat out canceled. And that I would be getting a refund. So I have to say I wasn't too surprised. Disappointed, frustrated a little bit because, I was thinking I was 3 weeks out and Tampa was 6 weeks out. And so instead of being 3 weeks out, now I'm 6 weeks out from Tampa. And now I don't have a warm-up show to get me ready for Tampa, because I was really, really wanting to go into Tampa looking fresh, looking, everything on point, because I was really, really wanting to get that pro card so that I could compete in the pro show on Sunday. I'm a planner, so I immediately started trying to make plans, like, okay, what can I do? And the way that I kind of approached it, and this has kind of been my mindset change over the last few years, is don't look at what you can't do. Like there's always going to be obstacles. There's always going to be problems in the way and things that are preventing you from doing what you want to do. Don't look at what you're not able to do. Look at the opportunities you now have. Look at what you are able to do. What can you do? So instead of being like upset that the show got canceled, or, upset that my plans were ruined, I was like, okay, here's what it is and what can I do? So I decided to use it as an opportunity to practice carb loading. A lot of bodybuilders will load carbs during peak week. I knew where my carbs were in the past during peak week, and I kind of wanted to push it. I wanted to see how far could I continue to carb load. If you don't know, I do coach myself. I've always been kind of a little bit afraid to push carbs too much, because I didn't want to reach that point where I spilled over and then I couldn't fix it before show day. So I decided to practice a very, very aggressive carb load. And so I planned it out and I was like, look, I've got 6 weeks now. I've got 6 weeks before Tampa. I've been given the gift of time. And I'm going to use this time to practice my peak week because I'm pretty much there as far as my physique, as far as being lean enough. And I've got 6 weeks now, so why not? And I wanted to see at what point would I spill over, at what point would I look my best. I ended up using that protocol during my peak week for Tampa. Anyway, but it still did kind of throw a wrench into my plans. And so I was really wanting to try to go ahead and compete and get like a warm-up show before Tampa. And so I actually found a show in a kind of a newer federation. I found a show, I don't know if it was the same weekend as the one that got canceled or the weekend after. It was just a few hours from my hometown. It was like a 2.5, 3 hour drive, maybe at the most. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. And so I was going to register for that show and use it as my warm-up show. I got online to register for the show and I noticed the venue location had changed. And I was like, that's weird. And so it turns out instead of being like 2.5, 3 hours away from my hometown, it was 8 hours, an 8-hour drive. And that's a little far for me. Some people are fine taking a long road trip like that, but I prefer shorter road trips, like 4.5 hours, 5 hours, maybe at the most. But 8 hours just doesn't really work for me, especially like I'd be driving back on a Sunday and turning around and going back to work on a Monday. And that's really hard if you've been like in a car for 8, which really probably would have been closer to 9 hours when you stop for rest breaks and gas and all that. So I couldn't really see myself driving 9 hours there, competing, 9 hours back, whatever. So Anyway, I decided not to do that warm-up show, and then Tampa was going to be my warm-up show, my first show. So I was 6 weeks out. But anyway, like I said, I used it as an opportunity to practice my peak week, practice my carb loading, which maybe in another video I'll talk more about the process of peak week and carb loading and what that does. But anyway, I think I'll probably go ahead and kind of wrap up the video. I'm actually off the next 3 days, so I'm gonna try to get a lot of stuff done. We will see you in the next video. I will talk more about my Tampa show, the Pro-Am show. It was really awesome. I'll tell you all about what happened on Saturday and if I was able to compete on Sunday in the Pro show. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and we will see you in the next video.